not everybody can start out with an Amex Gold credit card and super high credit, because I was in college, I was building my credit. I didn't have any credit, actually. You're starting from zero. Like, I didn't have credit, so I couldn't get a credit card to help me fund my business. I didn't have a lot of money. I couldn't get a loan. It was hard. It was really hard. So a lot of people ask me, like, how did I start my clothing brand with no money, no loans, no investors, no rich parents? And I'm honestly here to say that it wasn't easy, but it is still possible. And I want to talk about my journey a little bit and how I funded my clothing brand from scratch, from zero, from nothing. My name is Takara. I own a tall girl clothing brand. I had my brand for about a year and a half, and I started my brand because as tall girls, it's hard for us to really find jeans or pants or anything that fits the length of our legs. So for me, I really wanted it at first for myself, just to start making clothes for me and things that, I could fit. But then I realized this is such a big problem and issue that a lot of us have. And I'm only 5'10", so there's girls out there that are way taller than me that I know struggle with this. And my biggest goal for this was to just find women that struggle with this, that has been insecure about their height, and going shopping for clothes doesn't make it better because they can never find anything. So I really just wanted to solve a problem with that. My money situation before my clothing brand, I was in college. I went to FSU. I was a senior, actually, and I had no internships lined up, no job, nothing lined up. I was in college. I lived in an off-campus apartment, so I had a roommate as well. And I was paying my bills by having scholarship money, refund checks as well that weren't that much. It was probably like $1,000 I was getting back. But not just that, it was more so my dad was in the military, so he was a vet, and I was able to pay my rent that way. Because if you know anything about vets and what the benefits are, their dependent can get their school paid for. So I wasn't getting my school paid for by the vets, but I was getting, or by the veteran program, but I was getting funds to go to school. Basically, they pay your rent for you, or enough to pay your rent. My rent for my half was like $900, so I was getting enough to have my rent. I was also on food stamps, so that helped a ton, and I was able to use about $200 a month for my food stamps. So yeah, I was pretty blessed in that case, but I didn't have a lot of money outside of that. Like, I didn't have a lot of spending money. So maybe after paying my rent, I had like $200 to $300 for like hygiene stuff and, the necessities, but not so much for like just splurging. Like, I was not splurging at all. So I was pretty much broke. I didn't get a job because I was focused on my grades and just getting good grades for my career post-grad. So I really wanted to focus on that. I didn't have a job. I really didn't have desire, but I was really desire as in I didn't have a job that I was just itching to go get while in school, because I was full-time, so it was kind of difficult. If I'm honest, I just didn't have a drive to go work for anyone at the time. So what I would do was I was really getting into side hustles, so reselling my clothes on Depop. I was able to be a Fashion Nova ambassador, but I wasn't getting paid for it. I was just getting free clothes. And what I would do after those free clothes, after I posted, I would just post them on my Depop and sell them. I was also selling my old clothes that I would like overbuy. So I was selling a lot of my clothes off of Depop, and that was a cool little side hustle for me. It wasn't enough to really sustain like daily things, but it was something. Like $50 here and there was cool to get. But I was always trying to find a way to get money kind of without getting an actual like 9-to-5 job. That was kind of something I was trying to do. I was posting a lot on social media as well, and I was trying to see if that can go anywhere. Here and there, I would probably get like $100 to post to a sound. But again, that was never consistent. It was never really like a consistent income for me. It was always very like wishy-washy. You never knew. What I ended up doing was, with the leftover money I had from getting my rent paid by my school, basically, I saved up probably about I'd probably say like $300 to $500 of that. So that would probably be about 2 months worth of saving. And that's when I invested that in my brand. And what I mean by invested in my brand is I came up with samples, and samples cost money. If you guys ever tried to start a brand, samples can be expensive. It's normal for them to be expensive. They're about like $100, sometimes $200. So I had a set. So mine were like $200 a piece, and I wanted at least 3 colors. So that was like $600 plus shipping. It came up altogether to like $800 in samples. That was a lot for me. After that, I probably had around $100 to my name. Like, I did not have money, and it was a gamble, it was a risk. I was definitely scared because, like I said, this was a risk. It was my senior year. It was the first semester of my senior year, so it was around October. So I just started my senior year, but I definitely took a big risk in basically putting all my money into my business. It was something that, definitely scared me because there's always this possibility that it might not work with anything. So yeah, I was definitely scared. I was definitely scared that I was going to lose my money, like waste my money. It's hard trusting people overseas that you've never really met or talked to. You're kind of just sending them money, praying and hoping that they send you a product back. Like, man, there were so many risks. I'm glad I didn't think like it was dumb at the time. It was a lot though, because not having any money, like after that, I was like, okay, I'm kind of banking on this to really succeed, and I had to really put my faith in it, because that was definitely a super risky move for me, especially being a college student and still needing, of course, to eat and to, have gas money and all these things. I had a budget a lot, y'all, when I was in college. I learned to do my own hair during the pandemic, so 2020. I did not go to hairstylists before my business. I was doing my own hair in my room. I was not getting my nails done. To me, feet is more of a hygienic thing, but it was even rough sometimes, hard to do that because of how much things were. But like my nails, to me, that's like a luxury, and I just couldn't afford to get my nails done. I didn't get my hair done by anybody. I was doing my hair on my own. It would take all day, sometimes days, to finish my hair. But if I wanted a new style, I had to do it myself because I couldn't afford to spend $200 to $300 on a hairstyle. So it was a lot, like being in college, still going, to class. And I was blessed to have food stamps because that definitely helps a lot. But just having that like uncertainty and saving for that moment it was a lot, because I felt like if this doesn't work, I'm done. Like, I have no money, right? And I'm the type of person, I do not like asking for money. Like, my parents are definitely in my life, but I just would do anything before asking my parents for money was like my last resort for me. I just hated asking people for money and for things. I really wanted to figure it out myself and do it myself. And I don't know, that could have been my pride for sure. But I really just, for me, it was partly like embarrassing, just being real on my end, but also just, they're my parents. Like, why? Of course they would help me, and I knew that they were also struggling too. So it just felt like I didn't want to be a burden, and I didn't want to, ask them, especially when they're like, are you going to get a job? Like, what's your plans after college? And I just wasn't sure. So yeah, for me, this was kind of like, I have to do this. I have to save, and I have to come up with the money to do it. And there was plenty of times when I went negative in my account before I even thought about my brand. Like in college, it was hard. Like, there was times I didn't have enough money, because if you know anything, again, like I said about the veterans program, is that they pay you when you're in school. I still had to pay my rent during summer. I only had one summer class. So basically, the more full your schedule is, like if you're a full-time student, you get the maximum benefits. But if you're a part-time, you only get like $100, $200 per class you take. So during the summer, I was still had to pay my rent, but I was only getting like $200. So man, yeah, I remember I went negative in my account to pay my rent. Like, it was a hard time. Like, I was stressed out. I was crying. It was definitely hard being in college. And yeah, I was getting good grades, but I was just realizing like, this sucks financially. It was really hard. And I think seeing that over withdrawal and kind of being embarrassed to hang out with people because I knew that I couldn't afford a lot of the things. So when I was hanging out with people, if I were to pay for something, let's say one of my meals was like $15, I didn't have that, and I would overdraft my account. I'm not saying this is a good thing. This is just what I was experiencing, and these is not smart decisions, but I would overdraft my account. So my account had like a $20 fee when you would overdraft. So I would overdraft my account for a $15 meal. Now I'm owing $35 for that meal that was $15 because I couldn't afford it, but I still paid for it. You know, it was just a lot. It was a stressful time. College was not, beginnings of it wasn't the best for me financially. Yeah, I basically saved the money I was getting from my school to pay my rent. And again, it causes you to sacrifice. Like, there's some things you have to give up. I wasn't going out. I don't go out at all, but I wasn't even going out on Friday nights or nothing like that, because for one, that's just not what I do or believe in. But yeah, I wasn't going out. I wasn't having fun. I really felt like I didn't deserve to have fun. Like, I really had to grind, and I was in my room thinking of ideas and thinking of how different ways to make money that was still honoring to God, because again, there was of course easier ways to make money, but I personally I'm a child of God, and I definitely didn't want to disappoint him. So I decided to hone down on like just my morals and my values, and I waited, and honestly, all glory to God, because the way that this worked out my senior year of college was just unreal and supernatural in a way. I was literally broke, crying. I had dreams of moving to Atlanta when I graduated, but I was thinking, like, how am I going to move if I have no money whatsoever in my account? I'm actually negative. So that's when I, had the idea of the clothing brand, the Tall Girl clothing brand. I saved the leftovers that I would use normally for like normal spending money, and I saved that. I sacrificed for a couple months to have enough to pay for my samples, and then I finally paid for my samples. I got my samples. I actually really like them, and then that's when I start promoting my brand on social media, because I do strongly believe in having the physical product first before you promote like a mock-up or anything like that, because you need to feel the texture, you need to feel the quality before you're like promoting it to other people. I got my money for my sample. That's when I started promoting on Instagram. I made a whole brand page, promoted my first couple pictures. I made my brand TikTok. I was posting on my brand TikTok. A couple of videos actually went really well and were going viral. And I was like, whoa, like, this is so new. I was so like, wow. Like, I just didn't expect that. Like, the first couple posts I did to go viral. And then that's when I was like, whoa, this might be a good idea. Like, this might work. I finally dropped probably a month after promoting. Yeah, I waited a month. I did a pre-order my first drop, obviously, because I had no money. So I didn't have anything on hand. I made that known to my customers that it will take around 5 weeks for your order to get to you, because the manufacturers had to make it. And then, I don't like doing pre-orders personally. They stress me out. I was so stressed out about having my first bulk order. I didn't know how nothing worked. So I was like, what if I get scammed? What if I give my manufacturers this money and I don't get any product? Like, I was so exhausted and drained from the pre-order process. Once I did the pre-order, I ended up capping myself at a certain amount, because I didn't want to overdo it. I've never seen that amount of money before, so I just didn't feel comfortable to continue letting my website stay open. So I closed it the first day, because I got enough to where I felt secure and comfortable with. And man, that night just felt so unreal to me. It was so unreal. I put in the order for my manufacturer, and I shipped out the orders probably realistically like a month and like a week later. All glory to God, because that was an insane time. Common mistakes I feel like a lot of people make when they start making money with their clothing brand, I would say, is blowing it, spending it on stupid things. I didn't spend it on nothing stupid, no bags, no expensive, like anything. I was honestly scared of making that much money. Like, I didn't want to ruin anything. I didn't want to be stupid and dumb. So I put it right back in my business. I paid for my pre-order bulk, and then I basically paid for the next bulk order with that money. You want to reinvest it in your brand. You want to just continue to grow with your brand. You don't want to, you know, make this money and feel like, oh, you made it in life and now you're just, because you can get excited. Like, wasting it on stupid things is probably like the biggest thing I would say not to do. Honestly, what God can give, God can take away. So I wasn't playing with that. A takeaway I will say is really to just be disciplined. For me, even with my school, I was very disciplined. I wasn't going out on Friday night. A lot of my Friday nights looked pretty similar. I would probably go get something to eat or cook me something and stay in my apartment. I was just trying to really figure out how I can make my life work outside of college. One thing I will say is college did buy me a lot of time, and I'm grateful for that because it allowed me to, you know, still be stable enough to where I had a place to live and a place to, you know, stay. But also it allowed me to be creative on like my Friday nights when I finish all my homework. What can I do? What's my passion? What do I want to do after this? So just be disciplined with your money, be disciplined with your practices, and don't get lazy because it could definitely like backfire, and we don't want that. And there's definitely there's still times where, you know, like I mentioned, drops aren't always, you know, hitting the high charts, and they're not always the best. There's been plenty of drops where I've like, wow, this did not do well at all. So yeah, it's really not about staying motivated, because you can lose that motivation overnight, but it's really just about staying disciplined, knowing that this comes with ebbs and flows. Not everything is sunshine and rainbow. Keep that discipline, because if this is something you really want to do, you're going to have to go with the ups and downs of it all. So yeah. So those are some things I've learned, and that's kind of how I started to fund my business. Like I said, I didn't have a handout. I didn't have, you know, loans or anything. I didn't qualify for loans or credit cards or anything to help me fund it. I simply just saved my money, that the little money I was getting, and I invested it in my brand. And I really was just so intentional about that because I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and I wanted to just go all in. And that's really what helped me fund my brand. I was so driven and so focused on this that I knew that, you know, this is what I want to do. Not everybody can start out with an Amex Gold credit card and super high credit, because I was in college, I was building my credit. I didn't have any credit, actually. You're starting from zero. Like, I didn't have credit, so I couldn't get a credit card to help me fund my business. I didn't have a lot of money. I couldn't get a loan. It was hard. It was really hard. So having faith in God that it can work, and having that discipline to make it work. And that's what I really did. So yeah, I just want to say thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you guys in my next video.